What daf is this?
We're on Daf Ayin Vav 76, and tonight we not only celebrate Yom Yerushalayim, but we also get to complete the seventh Perek of Masechet Shabbat. So we start with the one last comment on the previous Mishnah, which says "B'chol she'eno kasher lehatzniya." The Mishnah says that if you have an item that most people do not store up, but they would just throw out, then that's too small, and that you wouldn't be chayav for carrying that. Amar Rabbi Elazar, ha'adela keRabbi Shimon ben Elazar. The Tanya, lal amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Kol she'eno kasher lehatzniya, be'en masna'in kamohu, ve'uchshar lazeh ve'hitzni'o, u'ba acher ve'hotzi'o, nitchayev zeh b'machshava shel zeh. Okay, so let's assume that most people do not save, a small amount of, 4 staples. Everyone throws that out. Let's say I'm a weird person and I save 4 staples, right? So the Mishnah says that if I do that and I go outside with it, even though I'm weird, but it's important to me. So if I carry it outside, since it's important to me, therefore I am chayav for carrying. But if anybody else does, you are not chayav. That was the opinion in the Mishnah, that there are certain standard levels that everyone is chayav, but less than that, if you're just a strange person, only you are chayav. But regarding that, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar disagrees and says, if I think that saving 4 staples is important, and you carry out my 4 staples, you are also chayav, right? Because of my da'at. So nitchayev zeh b'machshava shel zeh. My mindfulness and giving that amount significance can actually cause that thing to be significant, so that someone else, that kind of it transfers over to someone else who would also be chayav. Which is a very interesting opinion, but not the opinion of the Mishnah. Final Mishnah. Hamosi teben kimlo pi para. Aitza kimlo pi gamal. Amir kimlo pi tale. Asabim kimlo pi gedi. So all these different kinds of food that are only meant for animal food, the smallest amount that I would be chayav, the smallest amount that would be chayav is a mouthful of the animal that generally eats that food. So if it's straw, it's as much as a cow could fit in his mouth. If it's bean stalks, as much as a camel, which has a bigger mouth than a cow. And if hearing people, if it's clovers, then that's
this one.
And for grass, it would be for goats. That, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just hearing voices. Okay, sorry about that. Eli ale shum ve'ale besalim lachim kegero geret. If you have onion or garlic leaves that are moist, then it's a gerogeret full, which is a dried fig. A dried fig gerogeret is the standard amount for any human food. So peels of onion and garlic are edible to humans, and therefore will be a gerogeret. Yeveshim kimlo pi gedi. However, if they are dry, then humans wouldn't eat them. Only a goat would eat those. So it would be the mouthful of a goat, which is bigger than that of a human. And you do not combine them. So if I have a little bit of straw and a little bit of beanstalk that by themselves are less than the amount, but if I put them together, they are more than the amount that would fit into a camel or a cow, they do not combine together because nobody eats them together. So I can actually take a little bit of each of these things and it would end up being a lot, but I'm still would be patur. That's the Mishnah. Gemara says, "My etza, what is this thing called etza?" Amar Rabbi Yehuda, teben shel mineh qitnit. It's the bran that is around the beans. So in other words, bean stalks. Ki ata Rav Dimi amar.
Bean stalk or bean sprout?
The stalks of the beans.
Okay.
So Rav Dimi is one of the Nahota'eh. He's one of the people that used to travel from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel and bring traditions from there to here. So was Rabin. We're going to see him in a minute. Hamosi Teben kimlo pi para lagamal. So we saw teben is generally what a cow eats. But let's say I am bringing it not for the cow. I'm bringing it for the camel. So it's which is unusual. So the camel's mouth is bigger, and so that's the question. Since it's an amount that's usually for a cow, but I don't intend it for a cow. I intend it for a camel. Rabbi Yochanan amar hayav. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish amar patur. So let's try to analyze why. Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't matter. This is the amount that this is usually cow food, and so therefore you bring the amount that a cow would eat. So chayav. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says no. You go by the mind. I intend this for a camel, and it's not enough to fill a camel's mouth. So therefore patur. One is saying it's more objective. One is saying it's more subjective. Be'urta amar Rabbi Yochanan hachi lesafra hadarbe. At night, Rabbi Yochanan said chayav. But in the morning, he slept on it, he thought about it more, and he changed his mind. And he said, you know what, Resh Lakish, you're right. I think it should be patur. Okay, that's the tradition that Rav Dimi brought from Eretz Yisrael. But then his colleagues are analyzing it. Amar Rav Yosef, Shapir avad dehadar, deha lo chazeh lagamal. He says it's a good thing. Rabbi Yochanan was correct to change his mind because, after all, this food is not fit for a camel, and so therefore it's not camel food. So you're bringing out something that is not really food for the intended audience. Amar le'Abaye adrabba. He says, no, he should have stuck with his original opinion because, after all, what he's bringing out is food for a cow. And so it is food for a cow, and it's enough food to fill a cow's mouth. Therefore, it should have been chayav all along. And he should not have changed his mind. He should have stuck with chayav. So, Ela ki amatar Rabin amar. Luckily, Rabin also came from Eretz Yisrael and brought an alternate tradition, which would be in line with Abaye. Amar hamosi teben kimlo pi para lagamal. I brought right. If in that case, that's the same case. Everyone agrees that would be chayav because I brought the amount of food that would be for a cow, and I brought the amount that a cow eats. Doesn't matter. So I thought I intended for it to be for the camel. That doesn't make a difference. Chayav, like Rabbi Yochanan said before at night. Ki pilige b'motzi atza kimlo pi para lepara. The machloket is if I take etza, which is camel food, but I don't take a camel's mouthful, I take a cow's mouthful of beanstalk, and I intend it to be for a cow. So I'm giving food that's usually for a camel, I'm giving it to the cow in the right amount, in the size that a cow would eat. And in this case, that's what the machloket was. Ve'ipecha itmar. And in fact, the opinions are reversed. Rabbi Yochanan amar patur, Resh Lakish amar hayab. Rabbi Yochanan says, this is too little. This is usually camel food, and so this is not really eating. It's true, if you feed it to the cow, it'll eat it, but you have to force it to eat it, and it's only if it's starving. It's not, so that's not considered actual eating. It's only forced eating, and so therefore this is not cow food, and the cow's amount of it does not count. Resh Lakish amar hayab achila al-yedei hadahak shema achila. Resh Lakish said it's still eating it, even though it's being forced to eat it. So what? It's still eating it, and therefore I intended it for a cow. I gave it to the cow. Therefore, for my purposes, in that instance, a cow's mouthful amount is chayav.
So this statement of Ravin doesn't seem to be aware of the going to sleep and waking up and having a revelation that I changed my opinion.
Correct. Good. So I knew you were going to ask that. So I did check the Yerushalmi. And right. So in other words, if you take off the if you take only Rav Dimi and Rabin, right, they have two different traditions about what the machloket was about. And so if you look in the Yerushalmi, it could be actually that they said both. Maybe they discussed both cases, right? And so it is possible that that they switch their opinions because one says subjective, one says objective. They don't necessarily contradict. So they could have said both, and we can maintain both. But the Talmud, what the Bavli does is question one, reject it, and therefore use Rabin as a alternate, as a response to that rejection, and instead says the Kula Amalo Plige de Chayav, right? So that part of it, perhaps, is the Bavli interpolation, right? Saying that they all think this, and instead this was the machloket. But if you take only the words that are exactly parallel, hamotzi tevin, and you say what they were arguing was bimotzi atzah, right? Then you can actually put them together and establish both traditions that they were arguing about. Okay, very good, insightful point. Amir kimlo pi taleh, right? As we said back in the Mishnah, that if it's clovers, that's what a lamb eats. So that's an amount of a lamb's mouth. Vatanya go get it. We have another braita that gives a different measurement of a dried fig. So which is it? A lamb's mouthful or a dried fig? Idi ve'idi chachiorahu. Those are actually exactly the same. So I assume that get it is based on how much a human could fit in his mouth. So I guess a lamb's mouth and a human mouth are about the same size. Right? Again, onion and garlic, if they are edible, then it's a human amount. If they're dry, then as much as a goat would have. And they don't combine. That was what we're going to focus on. So it says they don't combine. They can combine one way. It won't combine for stringency. In other words, if I have something that is relatively less important, like straw, where I need a lot of it because straw is less important, I can take straw and mix it with grass, which is a smaller amount, right? So if I have a half of a goat's mouthful of grass and a half of a goat's mouthful of straw, it will not combine because straw is not as important. But the other way around, it can. If I have half of a cow's mouthful of straw and half of a cow's mouthful of grass, because grass is more dense, right, per unit, it can fulfill upwards. And so if I have half of that and half of that, and I carry them together, then I would be chayav. Okay, so that's the interpretation of Yoseh, limiting what the Mishnah said to only half of the cases. And then now the Gemara is going to question that. It's a long question. Hold on, is that really true? That if two things are of different amount, different shiurim, then they can't combine, right? Combine. We already said it can combine down, but not up, right? But is that true that they can combine even up? We have a proof that different shiurim can combine both ways. What's the proof? Hatenan. We have a Mishnah. It says habeged shelosha al shelosha, hasak arba'at al arba'ah. The minimum amount for a piece of cloth. This is if like a zav sits on it. What's the minimum that will make it tameh? Is 3 by 3 tefachim, right? Sak, if it's sackcloth made out of goat's hair, which is less important, then the shiur has to be bigger for it to be something that's generally useful. That's going to be 4 by 4 tefachim. Or chamisha al chamisha, leather, 5 by 5. Mapatz, a reed mat, shisha al shisha. Okay, each of these are different shiurim. V'tanya, we have a braita about that Mishnah that says habeged ve'asak. Hasak ve'ha'or. Ha'or ve'hamapatz mistarfin ze im ze. And says you can combine each one with the other. Ve'amar Rabbi Shimon. Ve'amar Rabbi Shimon ma ta'am mipnei she'reuyin litameh moshav. What is the reason that they can come together? Because if you sit on them, and Rashi says, is talking specifically about if you use them for a saddle of a mule, and you need to patch it up. So if the whole thing is made out of leather, and then you need a little bit, so you take a reed mat and you put it in. Since people don't care what the saddle is made out of, so it all combines. And if a zav sits on it, will make it tameh, and you can combine shiurim. So in that case, ta'amaderin li tameh moshav, aval en za'ui li tameh moshav la. But in that case, we combine them only because they have this property in common of a zav sitting on them makes them all tameh. That's why they can come together. But if not for that property, you would not normally allow them to join together. And so therefore, it's an opposite. We're learning the opposite. In general, this should be the exception. And in other cases, they should not combine. And so in this case, they should not combine. Amadava. No, even in the foodstuffs for animals, there is a time when we would want to combine them, and that is if a person was selling different foodstuffs for animals, and he put them all in his window, and he might put them all together so that they look more impressive and they won't blow away, and so he will combine them. There is a useful purpose to combining them, and since there's one case where it's useful to combine them, therefore in other cases as well, they can be combined, and that's why we can combine them in one way. Okay, then the final Mishnah. Hamosi ochalim kegero geret hayav. Mistarfim ze im ze mipnei sheshavu b'shiorehen. If you have different types of foods, and a lot of people like to carry bizit outside, and you're carrying some fruit outside, you put them in your pockets. So even if each one is less than the shiur of a dried fig, but if altogether they make up a dried fig, then one would be chayav for carrying that out. Because they are the same measurement, they do combine with each other. Chutz mekelipatan vegarinahen veuktsehen vesuban umursenan. However, when you're calculating how much you are carrying, you do not count the peel or the pit or the stem or the bran and fine bran that's around the wheat kernels, right? So the bizit that you're carrying only count the edible part inside, not the shells. So that's a little bit more mekel. Rabbi Yehuda omer, chutz mekelipe adashin shemitbashelot imahen. When it comes to lentils, you do count the skin of the lentils because they are cooked together, and therefore they are important, and they're like an integral part of the lentil that you do want. Okay, so that's the only exception. Gemara asks, "Vesubin umursanin lo mistarfin." Hold it. Do you really not combine the bran of the wheat kernels? V'atanan chameshet rebaim kemach ve'od hayabin behala hen vesubin umursanan. When it comes to the law of challah, you have a big dough, and how much dough is required that you would need to take challah, and so it gives an amount 5/4, and you include the bran when you're calculating that how much it is. So since we do calculate the bran, it means the bran is an edible part, is an important part of the wheat that is used. So it should be therefore counted for the purpose of carrying as well. The answer is, Amar Abaye, sheken ani ochel pito be'isa belusa. The only reason we count it for challah is because a poor person eats dough that is unrefined because he doesn't have he can't afford the finer bread. And so therefore, for purposes of challah, we do count it as food because poor people do eat it. However, for the purposes of Shabbat, since it's not generally eaten and not generally considered important, therefore is not counted when we are carrying. In this case, I think maybe we can apply the principle before. If that particular poor person really thinks the bran is important and he carries it, perhaps that person would be chayav, but generally not. Finally, Rabbi Yehuda omer, chutz mekelipe adashim hamitbashelot imahem. He says, except for the lentil skin, adashim in, fulin lo. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda omer, chutz mekelipe fulin Va'adashim, are you only going to count the peel of the lentil? What about the peel of fava beans? We have another baraita that he says that you should exclude from the calculation of the minimum amount both the skin of the ful and lentils as well. So there's a contradiction between the Mishnah and the Baraita. La kashya ha behadate ha be'atike. Depends if they're new ones or old ones. If they are new, fresh beans, fresh fava beans, then they're edible, and therefore you count them. And so that's what the Mishnah is talking about. Rabbi Yehuda in the Baraita says you should exclude them. They were talking about old, dried out beans. Why? Atike mai ta'amala. When they're old and dried out, the peel turns black, and then you cook them, and they look like flies in the bowl, and then they're not unappetizing, and nobody would want to eat them. And so, therefore, when they are dried out, no one likes them, and they're not considered food, and therefore you can carry them. They're not counted in the carrying. So that's beautiful words to end on, like flies in the dish. Hadran alach kelal gadol. Chazakim ubruchim on completing this perek.